Hey, my name is Bryce Johnston, game designer.
And my name is Stephen Evans, associate game designer.
And we're excited to bring to you our how to play video for Of War and Men,
World War II. First, choose the mission you would like to play. Some missions are pre-generated, or you may make up your own as you go using the random scenario generator. For this example, we will be playing King of the Hill. Discard any mission cards you choose not to use. Every mission card comes with a mission-specific map. Use the map to lay out the starting terrain cards. Once the map has been created, choose your firing teams. Fire teams may consist of 1 to 8 soldiers. Be aware that every soldier has their own unique set of traits, one positive and one negative. Once you've created fire teams, place the fire team mini cards on the corresponding fire teams, labeling them Fire Team 1 and Fire Team 2. Take the next fire team mini card and place it on the map, representing where that fire team will start from at the beginning of the game. The last fire team mini card will be used to represent the initiative order. Keep them in order and place them underneath the mission card. Then randomly assign who will go first. Now that the game has been set up, begin the game in the assessment phase of the first round. In the assessment phase, mission-specific events may occur. Instant actions and effects may be played by players, and then players will draw their hands up to the maximum size of 7 cards.
During the combat phase, each fire team can take 2 actions. They can play general order cards, manipulate their hand through engineering, and play instant actions and effects.
In the debrief phase, players will discard the top card of the main deck underneath the initiative tracker to create an ever-growing fog of war. Players may also play instant actions and effects during this part of the round. In the beginning of a round, players will draw their hand size up to their maximum size of 7 cards. To do that, you'll follow the initiative order right here to decide who will get the first draw. Now the Germans are at the top of the initiative track here, so they will get to draw first, then the Americans. And although there are extra fire teams below, you only get to draw your hand to 7 cards. And it doesn't matter how many extra fire teams you are, you only get to draw your hand up to 7 cards. So the Germans will draw their first 7 cards, just like this, into their hand. And then the Americans get to go because they have the second fire team in the initiative track. So they will take their 7 cards to their side. Just like that. Now, after the hands have been drawn up to their maximum size, the round will start. The round starts with the first fire team in the initiative track activating and just sliding slightly out of the track to show that it is their turn to go. In this case, German Fire Team 1 will go first. German Fire Team 1 is right here on the map, represented by this fire team mini card, and it is these 3 soldiers right here. These 3 soldiers make up fire team 1. Now on every turn, a fire team gets to take 2 actions, meaning that they can do 2 of these top words on each card. These are the orders. So for fire team 1's first action, they will use this maneuver card to maneuver for their first action halfway into the brush. Now the reason it's halfway is because for every maneuver you get 50 yards, and every one of these terrain pieces is a 100-yard piece of land. So halfway will get me 50 yards. I'm almost in the brush, but I have another maneuver card right here that I could use. I could discard this maneuver card, and that maneuver card will get me the rest of the way into the brush. Because that's my second action, I will slide my fire team back here in the initiative track, activating the next fire team in the sequence. This is fire team 1. Fire team 1 for the Americans is represented by this fire team mini card right here, and it is these 3 soldiers over here. Fire team 1 for the Americans will choose to maneuver for their first action, and then they have this fancy card over here, double time. This is an instant action which allows a player to move basically at a faster speed and get into the terrain that they want with only 1 action. So this fire team is going to move into this terrain square here, and you might notice that there's no terrain here right now, and once a fire team fully moves into a place that has no terrain there, it allows the player to move a terrain piece from their hand into that position. So because they've used the maneuver, they would get their 50 yard of movement into the shell hole that they placed, or because they have this double time card, they get to go the rest of the way, all the way into the shell hole. Now that was only one of their 2 actions. They'll discard these 2 for their first action to the discard pile, and then they'll decide if they want to use any more cards on their turn. Now remember, all of your cards are used to control as many fire teams as you have. So in this case, the player decides that they're going to keep these 4 cards for their next fire team, so that they can have their next fire team move and they're not just stuck in one spot. So they choose not to do a second action and to slide their fire team back in, activating German Fire Team 2. German Fire Team 2 is these 3 soldiers right here, represented by this mini card on the map. German Fire Team 2 is going to start their movement into this empty space right here by playing their maneuver card. That gets them halfway to the terrain, but you might notice that there are no more maneuver cards in this player's hand. So one of the actions that they can do is called engineering. Engineering is when you discard cards for a particular result. So in this case, they're going to discard these 2 cards into the discard pile to draw 2 new cards. So at any time, a player can discard up to 3 cards to draw up to 3 cards. So we just did a 2 for 2 trade-off, and then that is my second action. At any time you can do it, but it does take up 1 action slot. So their first action was to move here. Their second action is to exchange cards. That will end that fire team's turn, activating the last fire team in the sequence. That is US Fire Team 2. That is going to be the American Fire Team 2, represented by these soldiers here, these 3, and they are right here on the map, represented by this fire team mini card. They are going to choose to move into the brush. So they are going to discard their first card to start their movement into the brush, flipping them over to the yellow side to represent that they are a moving fire team. And then a different way to do the engineering action is at any point as an action, you can discard 3 cards as a maneuver card. So I'm going to discard those 3, and that will allow them to finish their movement into the brush by using a second action, a second engineering action to discard 3 cards and use them as a movement. And that will end their turn. That is 2 actions. At the bottom of the round, we will discard 1 card every time to represent Fog of War. This card will just get discarded at the bottom, and it's just an ever-growing Fog of War that might prevent certain cards that are player favorites or certain cards that are better than others. It just gives them a chance that they might not appear during this game. Every game is always different because the deck will always be shuffled in a different way. This will then bring us back to the top of the round, where players can choose to play instant abilities if they want, and then we will draw our hand size back up to 7 cards, based again off the initiative order. The initiative order is never stagnant. It can change based on instant abilities and abilities throughout the game, but as of right now, the German Fire Team 1 is still on top. So he will draw back up to 7 cards, so he gets 3 more cards, just like that. Then the Americans get to draw, and the Americans used all of their cards in that round, so they will get a full new set of 7 cards. German Fire Team 1 is right here, fully in the brush, and they are going to use a maneuver card to maneuver to this road. Now we're going to pull up a road map for you right here, and you'll notice this symbol has these 2 footprints. This symbol is the fast travel symbol. It allows players to move into a terrain because this terrain is easily accessible. So the player can choose to move into this terrain with only 1 movement action, almost like the way the double time card works. They will use their maneuver card to fully move all the way from the brush into the easily accessible road terrain as their first action. And then, as their second action, they will use another maneuver card, and they also got this double time card, same as the Americans had earlier, where they will play double time and move from the road halfway for the maneuver, and then at double time all the way into the hillside. That is their second action. Their first action to move from the brush to the road because of the fast movement ability of the road, and then the instant action with the maneuver to get all the way into the hillside. That will end this fire team's turn, activating American Fire Team 1. American Fire Team 1 is going to use this recon card. It also has the double time ability, but they're going to use the recon portion of this card. Recon allows you to play a terrain on one of the terrain locations that has not yet been discovered, anywhere on the map. So they will recon this terrain right here, and they're going to force the German fire team to move into a terrain that is not advantageous. They're going to force them to move into this wetland, and when the German fire team finishes their movement, they will end up moving into a terrain that has a negative bonus to their attack and a negative bonus to their defense. That is their first action. Recon is one of the actions, and so that is Fire Team 1 for the Americans' first action. Then they will discard 1 card to do a maneuver, and they're going to start their movement into this hedgerow. And that will end that team's turn. The next fire team, German Fire Team 2, will activate. As time goes through on the initiative track, while a fire team is moving, it will allow them to finish their movement into a terrain without having to play an action once it gets back to their turn in the initiative track. So time passes, and German Fire Team 2 will end up in the wetlands because they were continuously moving while everything else was going on. German Fire Team 2 is not excited to be in the wetlands, and they want to get out of there as soon as possible. So they are going to use the maneuver card. They're going to maneuver into the road, which has that fast movement ability because it's an easily accessible terrain, and they will end up fully in the road with one maneuver action. As just like that. Now, German Fire Team 2 is going to use this maneuver card, but they're going to use the instant on the card as the combat order. Combat order is mission specific. For this mission, it allows players to use the instant reinforcements and draw their hand size back up to 7 cards whenever they want. So Fire Team 2 is going to play that as an instant, and they're going to draw their hand up to 7 cards. Now, that was an instant action, so they still get to do 2 actions for the rest of their turn. Their first action will be to maneuver out of the wetlands, because they don't want to get stuck in the wetlands. And because the road has that fast travel, easily accessible terrain feature, that one maneuver will get them all the way into the road. Now they get to do a second action. For their second action, they're going to entrench or fortify the terrain that they're in. The entrench is an action, and it allows you to play the entrench card, which gives a bonus to your defense and a bonus to your attack. The entrench card gets overlaid on the terrain card that you wish to entrench. So now you can see that this road has entrench on it, and it'll give me a total of a bonus of a 1 plus 1 to both my defense and my attack. That is Fire Team 2's second action. Their first action was to move, their second action is to entrench the road. That will end German Fire Team 2's turn in the initiative sequence. This will activate American Fire Team 2. American Fire Team 2, right here in the brush, is going to maneuver forward into this unknown terrain. Then they will maneuver again, and just as before, when you maneuver into a terrain that is not there, it allows you to play the terrain that you want in that location. So their first maneuver gets them halfway, the second maneuver allows them to finish their movement into the terrain, and they get to play the woodland terrain where they end up, giving them a pretty good bonus to defense and a good bonus to attack. This will end American Fire Team 2's turn because they have taken 2 maneuver actions, bringing us to the end of the round again. At the end of the round, we will burn another card for Fog of War, and players can choose if they wish to continue to play instant abilities. Instant abilities can be played at any time during the game on anyone's turn. So we'll discard these 2 maneuver cards, and we'll go back to the top of the round, where players will draw their hands back up to 7 cards. Starting again with the Germans. The Germans will draw the 2 cards that they need to get back to 7 cards, and the Americans will draw the 5 cards that they need to have 7 cards. Now that everyone has their cards, we'll activate German Fire Team 1 again.
When a player issues an attack order, a firing sequence begins.
First, determine the number of attacking soldiers.
Then, issue firing commands to those selected soldiers.
Determine which soldier is the target.
Then, fire your weapon at range. Keep in mind that jammed weapons, wounds, and random events can occur.
Apply the shooting soldier's discipline.
Add any terrain modifiers.
And players may play instant actions or effects.
Then, a final firing solution is made.
This final firing solution is versus the enemy soldier's chutzpah or vitality, depending upon the situation. German Fire Team 1 will shoot American Fire Team 2 from the hillside. To do so, they will play Attack Red. Attack Red means that you will use the red result from the top card of the main deck to determine how many of your soldiers get to shoot. In this particular situation, they flipped a red 2. This means they will get to shoot with 2 people. If we look at the German soldiers in Fire Team 1, we have Corporal Wolf, we have Private Wagner, and Private First Class Oswald. But if we notice, Private First Class Oswald has the personality trait Trigger Happy. This means that this soldier must be assigned to attack if at all possible. So, because only 2 people get to attack, he has to be one of the 2 people to attack. So we will attack with him first. Now we are at a firing range of 1 because there is 1 terrain difference between the people on the hill and the people in the woodlands. At a range 1, if we look at the weapon range under Private Oswald's gun, he shoots at a blue-blue. This means that after we determine who we are shooting at, we will use the blue and then blue results from the main deck. First, we need to determine who we are shooting at. We will use the red result from the top card of the main deck to determine who of the 3 soldiers in Fire Team 2 we are shooting at. It will be a 1, 2, 3, and if we roll a 4, we will re-roll. So we flip over a 2. That means we are shooting at a 1, 2, Private First Class Killian right here. Private First Class Killian has a chutzpah of 7 and a vitality of 10. That means the result of the firing sequence has to equal or be greater than 10 for the result to kill him, or if it is equal to 7 and less than 10, it will suppress him. So, going back to Oswald, with his blue-blue, we will flip over the first result of a blue 5, the second result of a blue 7, and we'll add them together to get a 12. Because it is difficult and it takes mental strength and fortitude to shoot at another living being, we have to take his discipline and subtract it from the result. So we will take his discipline of red and we will subtract 4 from the result. 12 minus 4 is 8, so we are shooting at the power of 8. Now it's not 1 bullet, it's shooting over time, but it is will one of the bullets find purchase on the target. So the last thing you do is we take the 8 and we add any terrain bonuses that are in play. We will add the bonus of being on top of the hill as a bonus of 3 to attack, and then we will look at the woodlands, which has a bonus of 3 to their defense. So in this case, the terrains negate each other, and we are left back here with a total result of 8. 8 is enough to suppress Private First Class Killian because it is less than his vitality but more than his chutzpah. To show the suppressed soldier, we will rotate the card so that the word suppressed on the side is facing upward. And that is the first shot of the 2 shots that the Germans get to shoot. So we'll discard these 3 cards from the firing sequence, and we will put Oswald back into his team, and our second shot will be with Corporal Wolf. Corporal Wolf shoots at a range 1 with a red, blue, blue, and has a discipline of red. We need to determine who Corporal Wolf is shooting at. We'll flip over this card and use the red result again of a 3 to say that we are shooting at 1, 2, 3. Private First Class Evans, the sniper. He also has a chutzpah of 7 and a vitality of 10. It is important to note that if we were to have rolled a second 2, we cannot shoot at a soldier that was suppressed in the same turn that he was suppressed. So had we rolled a 2, we would have to have flipped again to determine someone other than Private Killian. Corporal Wolf's gun with the red, blue, blue will be shooting at Private First Class Evans with a red 2, a blue 6, and a blue 2 equals 10. Now, we also have to subtract his discipline of a red 2, so our total result is an 8. Looking at Private First Class Evans soldier card, an 8 will also suppress this soldier. However, the leader of the Americans will decide to play an evade card. If we look at the evade card, evade is an instant action that immediately lowers any firing solution by 1 red result. This means we can flip the top card of the deck over and subtract it from the result of the firing sequence. In this case, we were at 8, and now, because of this red 3, we are at a 5. This will no longer suppress Private First Class Evans and will result in the end of the firing sequence. Now that we have taken our second shot of the 2 allotted shots, because of the attack red and the 2 people getting to attack, we will discard all of the cards from the firing sequence into the main deck. Including the evade card. And we'll put Corporal Wolf back into his squad. And that is Fire Team 1's first action from on top of the hill. If we look again at Fire Team 1's soldiers, specifically Private Wagner has the Scout ability. This soldier can reveal or place an adjacent terrain card on one empty terrain space. So we will use Private Wagner to put a lake into the space between the 2 fire teams that are moving forward. Now that the lake has been played between the 2 advancing fire teams, it is important to note that Fire Team 1 on the hill cannot attack the same fire team twice in the same round. They can also not attack American Fire Team 1 because the hedgerow blocks line of sight, as well as the woodlands. And until Fire Team 1 fully completes their movement into the hedgerow, they are still considered to be in this shell hole, behind the woodlands and the hedgerow. Fire Team 1 for the Germans will end their turn on that note, and American Fire Team 1 will activate. Because time has passed through the initiative tracker, they will finish their movement into the hedgerow automatically with no cost. For their first action, they will shoot at German Fire Team 2. They will play Attack Blue, and just like the Germans, they will flip the first card to determine how many soldiers get to shoot. Unfortunately, the blue result is a 1, and they must choose between their 3 soldiers who to shoot with. Private Perry is a sharpshooter and has a blue-blue when shooting at a range of 2. We're at a range of 2 because American Fire Team 1 has the lake and the road between themselves and German Fire Team 2. Private Perry will be taking the only shot in this example. First, we didn't need to determine who Private Perry is shooting at. We will use the red result of a 1, 2, 3, or 4 to determine which of these soldiers will get attacked from German Fire Team 2. The result is a 3, meaning that we are shooting at Private Gunther, who has a chutzpah of 6 and a vitality of 10. Private Perry shoots with a blue-blue against Gunther at a range of 2. So we will flip over the blue, blue 1, the next blue of a blue 8, 1 and 8 is 9, and if you notice this symbol with the question marks, this is the random event symbol. Private Perry, as a sharpshooter, gets an additional red to his firing sequence result if the random event is flipped during his firing sequence. In this case, it appeared at 9, so he will get to add 1 red, a red 3, to his firing sequence result, which will put him at 12. Private Perry's discipline is green, so we will subtract the green result of 2 from 12, putting us at 10. And then we will do any terrain bonuses that are in play. The attacking bonus goes first. The hedgerow gives a bonus of 2 to attack, and because the Germans entrenched in the road, they also have a bonus, and in this case the terrain modifiers will negate. The ending result of a 10 is equal to Private Gunther's vitality. In this case, the German leader does not have an instant action that will allow for the lowering of a firing sequence. In this case, because Gunther's vitality is a 10 and the firing solution equaled 10, he is killed and the German leader must give the soldier card to the enemy leader that killed him. Private Gunther is worth 12 points, which will mean the Americans get to add 12 points to their total at the end of the game for killing Private Gunther. Because the attack blue resulted in only 1 soldier being allowed to attack, that is the end of the attack action, and all cards get discarded into the discard pile. That was American Fire Team 1's first action, and for their second action, they will discard 3 cards to draw 3 new cards. Discard 3 to draw 3 new cards, like so. And that is their second action, which will end their turn in the initiative order, activating German Fire Team 2. German Fire Team 2, having just been shot at, will shoot back at American Fire Team 1. Before they do that, we will look at Private Ziegler's weapon. Private Ziegler, holding a light machine gun, becomes more powerful when his weapon is crewed. To crew a weapon, we will discard 1 card to allow the soldier to crew the machine gun. To crew, place the soldier that is crewing underneath and down to the right of the soldier whose weapon is being crewed. This means that Sergeant Snyder can no longer attack, but is making Private First Class Ziegler's weapon more powerful. German leader will then play an attack card, Attack a Green. Because only 1 soldier can shoot in this fire team, we will flip 1 card, and regardless of the result, he will be the only person shooting. In this case, the attack green could have 5 people shooting, but again, you can only shoot with each soldier 1 time in a firing sequence. Private Ziegler's gun shoots at a range 2 with a red, red, green, blue. First, we will determine who in Fire Team 1 for the Americans he is shooting at. He is shooting at position 3. 1, 2, 3. Put Private Perry back up here from earlier. And we are going to be shooting at Private Perry with a chutzpah of 7 and a vitality of 10. Again, we are shooting with a red, red, green, blue, and a discipline of red. So 3 and 2 is 5, and the green 5 is 10, and a blue 8. But if you notice this symbol that appeared above the blue 8, this symbol is the jammed weapon symbol. When this symbol appears, all action stops at this card, and you do not get to add the result of the dice on this card. So, the total was 3, plus 2 is 5, plus 5 is 10, and we do not get to add the 8. We still need to subtract his discipline, however. So 10 minus the red discipline of 2 puts us down to an 8. This will suppress Private Perry, and he will have to rotate to the suppressed side. And because Private Ziegler's weapon jammed, we will have to put the jammed weapon token on his gun. When the weapon jams, Sergeant Snyder is no longer crewing the weapon. However, he does not get to attack because he was originally crewing the weapon to start the firing sequence. Having completed the only firing solution that was allowed for this turn, we will discard all of the cards in the firing solution. German Fire Team 1 chooses to end their turn on that note. They do not want to move out of the road that they have entrenched. They cannot move into a lake, and you cannot have two fire teams merge together unless you merge them fully together into one firing team. And they do not need to rally any of their soldiers, which is the remaining cards that they have. This will activate American Fire Team 2. American Fire Team 2 will use the rally action as their first action to rally the suppressed soldiers. To rally a soldier, use the rally result, in this case rally red, to determine how many soldiers can rally. In this case, only one soldier needs to rally, but we could rally up to 4 soldiers with this result. Discard the rally and the result, and that is their first action, and Private Perry gets to turn back. He is no longer suppressed. As their second action, American Fire Team 2 will discard 3 cards to draw 3 new cards. This will end the round, and we will discard 1 card for Fog of War.
Play continues until a mission objective has been completed or the timer runs out.
Thank you for watching this How to Play video for Of War and Men, World War II.
We really appreciate your support.